Welcome. This is a tutorial on how to set up QuackedSMP server management panel. We will also be going over the installation of BlueMap and simple voice chat. I'll show you how to configure all those plugins. After we set everything up, I'll briefly cover all of the features that come with QuackedSMP. So a few things that you will need for this tutorial. Only one of them is mandatory. It's a server. Whether you have it on dedicated Minecraft server host or if you have it on a virtual private server, a VPS, the steps will differ. They won't differ for whoever is actually doing the configuration. It just means that if you have a dedicated Minecraft server host, you won't be manually doing this. You'll probably be contacting an admin to do it for you. If you don't have a VPS, good luck. This video is going to be centered around that. So let's get started. Oh, and you also might want to buy a domain name if you don't already have one to connect with to your server. I'll give you all the records you'll need to enter. So go to the website where you bought your domain name and then go to your DNS records section. And there's going to be like a big table. I'll tell you exactly what to enter for each row. But if you don't want to buy a domain name, you can still connect to your services and I'll give you the command that'll let you do that. Okay. All right. So I just ran the tool from my last tutorial. Our server is up now. We will download all the mods from, let me just get those things downloaded real quick. When you pull up, when you open it up, you'll see a bunch of stuff you could download. So just click on the version you want, and then click on the platform that your server is on. Installed a Neo4j server just now. Once you have the files on your desktop, open that directory up. So the way you do that is, there's two commands you gotta really know. There's cd, which is change directory, and then there's ls, which I actually don't know what it stands for, but I think it's list stuff maybe, yeah. But anyways, you use ls to see what's in your current folder that you're in, and then you use cd ... to go backwards. The reason I'm showing you this is because once it's on your desktop, you want to go to it. That's where I have all the jars. And then from the desktop, you want to type SCP. This should be installed on your machine. If you remember your user that you created on your VPS, again, I covered this on my last upload. Type the user at, then the IP. It's like an SSH command. SCP is copy over SSH. The next part is going to be, depending on what you named your folders, I have two servers in here, Quack, and then I have the one from last tutorial. We're going to open up Quack, and here's the mod folder that we need to copy the jars into. Make sure you got your IP, your user, and the folder you want to drop everything into. You could, instead of doing the *.jar, you could type out the entire file name, but because I know there's only these 3 jars on my desktop, I'm going to do them all at once. All right, I'll be back. Okay, so once everything is is uploaded, the new jars, you just got to restart your Minecraft server. Yeah, depending on how you do that, it'll be a little different. If you installed the server with my tool, watch the last video, you're gonna have a service on the VPS. To restart that service, you do sudo systemctl start, then you're gonna type the name of that service. You got to know what that is, but if you use the tool Quack VPS from last tutorial, it'll be named mc- and then the name of your folder. So just restart that, and then we'll take a look inside the server folder. We have our mods folder, we have our config folder, very important. You got also the BlueMap. Let's take a quick look inside of config. So now you see we got voice chat, we got BlueMap, and there are the dedicated config files that we will configure. For now, we're just gonna stick to setting up the panel. Next is going to be the firewall. I just checked and the server's actually crash looping because the other server I have installed is occupying the default ports for voice chat. I'll show you how to show the firewall. The two that you will have to set up if it's not already on is 80 and 443. This is your SSH port. For my other server, we have already a Bedrock, voice chat, I think that's it. Yeah, and the game port up here. The server I just installed is down here. We'll start with voice chat port is 255 or 24454 on my other server, so I'll just make it the same thing but +1. Here's the port, bind address, I don't usually touch. If you have any issues with the voice, there's a setting down here called voice host. I fixed an issue once where I put an IP here. It says don't change this value if you don't know what you're doing. It'll work, I think, regardless. I also tested it and it doesn't break anything if you put your IP here. It'll work both ways. So it's actually, I think, safer to put your IP here in case in the future it ever stops working. That's what I did once and it fixed it. All you really got to do is change the port up here. So we'll save. So now we're gonna go back, BlueMap, config. We'll look at core first. So this is important for BlueMap. To accepts in the settings, press Ctrl X to save. I'm sorry if I didn't make that clear before. And now we need to open up web server conf. And here we change the port. So now the server should stop crashing. Let's take a look. So screen dash ls to see the running servers, and then screen dash x or dash r. I use dash x out of habit. Apparently dash r works just as fine. Server has been empty for 60 seconds. So yeah, we stopped the crashing. Control A and then D. Oops. Control A and then D. You gotta do it kind of quickly. If you do it too slowly, I guess it doesn't work. But that's how you detach from the screen. Now let's connect. All right. Once we are in, we gotta set a password to open up the panel. Okay, so if you're not an operator, you can't actually enable the panel. So make sure you're admin. You just, again, screen dash X, the name of your service. And in here, you can just opt the person. We're in there, SMP admin, set password, set it something silly. Okay, now the password's set. We have a panel. Forgot to configure the port for that though. So let's go back. Sudo nano. And this is a very big config. Let me just look for the value. But once you're here, you have dashboard port 8125. We're gonna make it 8126. You don't have to change this, you can leave it default. This is just if you already have something occupying that port. For Votifier, we're also gonna bump it up by one. Votifier is built into the panel, so we're gonna save that. Boom. SMP reload. The next step of this tutorial is going to be setting up the web server. All the ports that we are about to configure, the ones that we just enabled in the configs, map and the panel will be publicly reachable and will only be accessible from the web server. So that means people would have to reach your domain to access. If you don't have a domain name and you're watching this tutorial and you don't plan on buying one, I'll give you at the end of the tutorial the SSH tunnel command. I'll probably edit and throw it on screen right now, and then also at the end. Okay, so the ports we are going to enable, there was 8192 plus 1, so 8193, and then 255 or 2445, 4 plus 1, so 5. Boom. So far we have, if you type sudo ufw status, it's all of them. Wow, okay, I'm actually recording this part again. So once your firewall set up, remember only to open up the voice chat and the Votifier port, the website. So that means BlueMap and the panel will only be reachable through Caddy, the web server. So this assumes you know how to install Caddy. Pretty simple, just use whatever package manager your server depends on. Let me just show you where the Caddyfile is. I've already done all the steps because the video didn't turn out too great. You can type cat and then go to /etc Caddy and then capital C for Caddyfile, the file. Yeah, last time I had this open, it was like the default Caddyfile, so you can delete what's there when you open it. I left the comments, but I deleted the block that it provided and replaced it with panel.mydomain.wiki, right? And then there's a little space here. Then you put the brace. There's a tab here. If you want to know if you wrote the right Caddy file, you can do sudo caddy validate --config, and you got to put the path to the Caddy file. It'll tell you valid configuration if it's good. I actually messed up the space here. It's very important you have that space between your domain and the brace, else it'll reject the configuration. But yeah, you type reverse proxy, then localhost, or there's another word for this. I think it's called like all interfaces, listening on all interfaces. And then the port that we configured in the earlier steps. So this would be the BlueMap port, +1 to the default one that was already in the file. You don't have to do any of the +1ing that I'm doing. I have to do that because I have another server installed. If you also have those ports occupied, just do that. Yeah, so panel and both the map require a domain. If not, you skip this step entirely, forget about Caddy. I'll show you how to still reach it. You'll basically have a command that gives you an SSH tunnel to this IP import. It's the command to validate, and when you edit it, this is the format, okay? And up here where you see import, you won't have that. You'll only see that if you already installed the server with my tool from last video, okay? So that'll also skip all the configuration we did today. It's a lot easier to do, so I highly recommend you check that out. But this is out here if anybody's trying to learn and do this the hard way. So let's see what everything looks like now with some domain names set up on Cloudflare. If you have your domain names elsewhere, that's fine. Just go to the DNS records section and A records for both of these domain. Obviously use the IP address to your box. Okay, so when you're first setting up the records, we made panel. It's going to be an A record, and then you're also going to make -quack. Okay, so create your 2 records for your websites, or the third one for your game server if you're also installing a server for the first time. Reload Caddy, then turn the clouds back on, not for the game server, but just for the websites. You turn this back on after you confirm that you can reach them in your browser. All right, so now we've reached the end of the video pretty much, and I am going to show you how to reload Caddy. Sudo system CTL reload caddy. Last video happened way quicker than... Okay, so sometimes it does take a while, but it's working. And if it doesn't work, you gotta just sometimes check a different browser. See? Your browser just caches the misses too, so it won't make an actual request to the server until it clears that. So the admin panel, enter the password. From here, you can Discord, Votifier. You can change the Votifier port from here as well. All kinds of BlueMap integrations. I'm not going to go through this today, but I'll dedicate a whole video to this plugin, what it can do. So yeah, if you run into any issues there and you feel like you're doing everything right, just restart the server. You can do that by just going into the screen. So screen, then just type stop, and that'll stop the server. And if you installed it with my tool, which hopefully you did, or if you have a service, that'll start it back up. Anyways, thank you for watching. This has been a very long one. It's a good learning opportunity. I think everybody should play around with the VPS. All that is fun. So give it a go. Save some money by doing this on your own instead of paying for dedicated MC hosts. Granted that there are situations where those services are actually really good, especially if you're playing something heavily modded. Thank you for watching.